Hello and welcome back for another episode of the Accessible Technology Podcast with me, Phoebes Lau. For those of you who are new to this podcast and who haven't viewed it before, this is a podcast that is all about the most accessible modern day technology, as well as telling you what the least accessible everyday technology is, while hopefully also giving technology companies advice on how they can make their technologies even more accessible. And this is something that I have had an interest in for a very long time, given that I am paralysed from the neck down and wheelchair dependent. This podcast is usually updated a couple of times a month, but due to various commitments such as work and other commitments like working on the book that I'm writing, plus going over other bits of content and trying to update things, I haven't been able to update it since February 2024, but nevertheless, if you want to follow the podcast, you'll be able to follow it by searching for the Accessible Technology Podcast on Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Audible and Spotify. However, you will also soon be able to view another version of the podcast over on YouTube Podcasts, which is going to all be available for you at some point whenever I manage to get it all out. However, if you'd also like to support the podcast in other ways, say for example you don't want to create a YouTube channel or a WordPress account, which you will need if you want to follow everything on YouTube or on my WordPress blog. You can also support the podcast and the other content I produce by searching for my Phoebes Lau Buy Me a Coffee page, and that is linked in the description and episode notes below. So if you want to do that, that will give you access to making a one-time donation if you just want to help me keep on producing the podcast. However, you will also be able to get a shout out as well on my socials if you do make a one-time donation, because that's something I think would be quite a nice extra. However, as well as that, if you would also like to view some of my full reactions to tech conferences that haven't been cut down, you'll be able to subscribe to the Extreme Nerds membership that I currently have on the Buy Me a Coffee page. And as I said, that's where you'll be able to view unedited versions of all of my reactions, and you can get that for just £5 a month. Plus, as well, if you do either of those options, you'll be able to check out some of the online goods that I will start selling at some point, but that's a big way off in the future, so yeah, not for a wee while. Anyway, in today's episode You're going to hear my review of the M1 Pro MacBook Pro, which I bought around nearly 2 years ago. However, before I get on to giving my review, here's just some additional notes about the M1 Pro MacBook Pro that I think you'd like to know about beforehand, as this is a wee thing that I include to make myself different. So the M1 Pro MacBook Pro was first announced by Apple back in October 2021, and it carries on from the 13-inch MacBook Air with an M1 chip, the 13-inch MacBook Pro with the M1 chip, and the Mac Mini with the M1 chip, which were all released and announced back in the year that is long forgotten, also known as 2020. The chip that it technically comes with is an M1 Pro, but you can also get a version of it with an M1 Max chip, although both do the same thing and just make sharing work really fast. However, as of 2024, it has technically been discontinued, but you can still get a refurbished version of the M1 Pro and M1 Max chip Max through Apple and on Amazon, though you won't get them for anything cheaper than still £100 or something, or £1,000, because it is still a new enough model. But anyway, that's all for my additional notes. So now let's get straight into my review. This is an M1 Pro MacBook Pro, and in this episode you're going to hear my prolonged review of it, which will also touch on whether it's good enough in 2024 and whether it's accessible enough as well. The 14-inch MacBook Pro with an M1 Pro chip was first announced by Apple in October 2021, following on from the 13-inch MacBook Pro with the original M1 chip, which was released in 2020. It comes in a white box with the laptop itself on the cover, but along with the information about the product, which is at the back. Going round to the side, you'll find the usual Apple logo, but that's all that there is to say about the outside. So now let's look inside. Inside the box, you get the MacBook Pro that you've chosen, as well as some information explaining how to set the device up, two Apple stickers and a charger. Something that makes this MacBook different compared to earlier Intel models is the fact that it comes with a 14.2-inch liquid retina XDR display with native resolution up to 254 pixels. It also comes with 16 gigabytes of memory, as well as 512 gigabytes of SSD memory in the basic model. I'll touch ID sensor which you can use to turn the computer on, 3 Thunderbolt 4 ports and a 1080p FaceTime HD camera. However, the unified memory can be upgraded to 32GB, although that will cost more. And you can also buy models with a 1TB, 2TB, 4TB or 8TB SSD. However, the version that you are seeing in this video is the 1TB SSD model, but that's the version I have. So what do I think about the M1 Pro MacBook Pro overall? Well, despite taking very long to get the review out, which was mainly just because there were a couple of difficulties in the beginning, I actually am really liking it now, and it really isn't anything that the newer models can't do. In fact, I think that this is actually the best laptop anyone who wants to get into the creative industries would be wise going for, based on how affordable it even is now, plus the fact that it can really complete a lot of various projects very quickly. If I tried to share a 7-minute video project on my old 15-inch mid-2015 Intel MacBook Pro, it would have taken at least half an hour to share, or close to an hour to share. However, on this 14-inch MacBook Pro with the M1 Pro chip, it takes only 5 minutes for it to share a 30-minute video, or shorter for a few longer projects. This change in share time is highly impressive for anyone who is used to working primarily with older Mac models. And as I said earlier, if I were to choose which feature about the 2021 MacBook Pro is my favourite, the share time is definitely one of them. However, something else that is really impressive when it comes to this Mac is the improvement in graphics, proving that you don't actually need to get a newer model to get really good graphics as well. Whether you're watching a film or a TV program or playing games, colours will pop out at you, and even the darkest scenes will reflect brightly. However, bright scenes will also seem a lot brighter, which might be something that some users will be less fond of than others. But yeah, in that case, if that isn't your style, you could turn the brightness down quite a bit. Another thing worth mentioning though, another thing that is really good about this new Mac, and it is also featured in other new Macs as well, is the fact that you have the opportunity to set up your accessibility settings when you are setting the MacBook up, instead of having to search around for them after. this is something that really I feel is a really admirable thing with MacBooks, because you don't have to go searching for the options anymore, which is quite good if you are a customer or a consumer who has bought the Mac and you want to set up accessibility settings, but you don't really know how to go about that. But plus as well, it's also really good that the Mac will automatically turn on as soon as you lift up the screen. So is it worth buying the M1 Pro MacBook Pro in 2024? And is it accessible enough for disabled users? The fact that you can choose your accessibility settings as you're setting the laptop up is one of the things that makes this Mac really disability friendly, proving again that accessibility is being considered first and foremost when it comes to technology. But even moving on then to other areas of the performance, such as into the performance and colours in the display. The definition of colours on the screen also adds a nice feature, so you won't struggle to see anything that is on the screen, though there are other accessibility settings as well that will help give descriptions of what's on the screen if you are blind or have any other visionary problems. And similar settings exist for users who are deaf. However, the main feature that I believe sells this Mac is when it comes to sharing content or product or projects, because depending on what kind of hard drive you have, your projects will share extremely quickly. And not only that, but you also have the opportunity to get all of the latest softwares on this Mac currently, which makes it still usable. And you also get a whole load of other new software and apps that are coming to it as well. Plus you can run a couple of third parties and get access to Windows-based systems as well. But if you want to jump into running any of that on a Mac, well, somehow they're not all apps are designed for MacBooks. Yeah, that is just a wee bit of the annoying thing. So now that I've told you everything that I think about the M1 Pro MacBook Pro, tell me, did you ever buy either the 14-inch or 16-inch model of M1 Pro MacBook Pro? And what chip did you go for in the end? If you settled for either of them, have you found the model that you've gone for useful? Or is there anything that you really dislike or like? And as of 2024, have you decided to keep it or to upgrade to a new model? Well, if you would like to pass on your thoughts, you can include them in a review wherever you're listening to this on or watching it on, or by going over to the contact page over on my Freeps Loud Tech Reviews site. which you can find by searching for pltechreviews.co.uk, or the contact page on my portfolio website, phoebelow.com. If you'd like to watch the videos that I upload on accessible technology, you can watch them by searching for my PL Tech Reviews YouTube channel. However, you can also, as I said earlier, support the content that I produce over there by going over to my Phoebe's Now Buy Me a Coffee page. And as I said as well, the link for that is in the episode notes and description below. If you enjoyed this podcast and would like to check out some other areas of journalism that I'm able to get into, you can find some more bits of content that I also produce by going over to phoebelow.com. And other than that, you can also search for my Phoebe's Now Journalism YouTube channel. Plus, there is also a podcast version that I have of everything that I upload on there called the Phoebe's Now podcast, and you can find that by searching for it on all of the same places as you can find this podcast on, just by searching for the Phoebe's Now podcast as well. Plus, as I said, there is going to be a YouTube podcast version of all of the episodes of this podcast uploaded at some point. So yeah, you can check all of that out as well when I get all of that out. But please just keep an eye on my socials, because it's going to be easier for me to promote them on there, especially on X. Anyhow, in the next episode that comes out, you're going to hear me reacting to Apple's May 7th event, although it's going to be the cut down version only, unless you want to pay to become a member of my Extreme Nerds membership. And after that, you'll be hearing probably a couple of different type of episodes, because WWDC is coming up. But other than that, I'm also going to post a video about how quickly the M1 Pro Mac Takes to Share project compared to the gold 15-inch 2015 Intel Mac that I have. And after that, I'm going to be jumping back into reviewing the customized DSi that I got in. Plus, I'll be reviewing how many games for DS are accessible for a disabled person, if you are able to get any of those devices, or to trade or how to loan one in. Plus, I'll then be moving over at some point to a customized 2DS. So yeah, that's a wee bit of a sneak peek into the content that I'll be bringing out at some point. But anyway, that's all for this podcast episode. So thanks for listening, and I'll talk to you again in the next one. Bye!